Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. I'm your host, Bernadette, and joining me today is fellow Canadian, you guys. Ashley Holmes is in the house. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm excited to be here and to connect with a fellow Canadian,
Yes, it's always nice because I interview people from all over the world, but it's always nice to find family from home.
right?
Yeah. So, Ashley, to start, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm a holistic fertility coach and I'm based in British Columbia, and I really and truly birth my business from my own struggles and offer the support and the healing and the nourishment that often doesn't go alongside medical intervention, and really looking at bringing mind, body, and spirit back into harmony, back into balance and alignment, because from that place we can really birth whatever we wish to into this world. But
Mhm.
sometimes we can get stuck and we can feel stuck energetically and in our mind, body, and spirit. And so just offering support so that women don't feel alone, women don't feel isolated, and they're not suffering silently.
I love that. I love that so much because it does happen. It happens more often than we realize it. And you mentioned silently, that's how we do it.
Yes,
It hurts.
oftentimes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was me. And that's why I use that word, because when I was in that space and place, no one knew I was there. No one knew that I was leaving work all the time and that I was going to the fertility clinic. I didn't let anybody in, and it was a disservice to myself, but I also didn't feel like I had the capacity to ask for help, to be vulnerable, and to really speak my truth at that point in time because it was painful.
Yeah. Can you walk us through your journey and share with us your experience with the work that you do relating to your journey?
Definitely, right now in this day and age, we do have so much at our fingertips. So we are very privileged because
Mm.
over a decade ago, when I was struggling to conceive, I wanted to help myself, but the only path I knew was to go to the doctor and was to go to the clinic. And I thought, if they can't help me, then there's no possibilities for me. This isn't going to happen. And so I took that step and I thought this is going to end in happiness or heartbreak. And eventually it did result in twins, but it definitely was not a path I was going to go down again, and something that I was going to put myself through mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. And I walked away with unexplained infertility and no answers from the doctors, and didn't think I could have any more children on my own. And that wasn't the truth. When I began to really embody and embrace these ancient healings, teachings, wisdom, practices from the East, I was able to conceive naturally and easily within 6 months. And so that was a night and day difference and a very big transformation within, a spiritual awakening within, of what I wasn't tapping into, what was also possible for me. And to offer this since the pandemic, knowing that 1 in 6 Canadians and worldwide are experiencing infertility. This is a massive issue, and there really isn't a lot of support, a lot of awareness, and a lot of help prevalent and available to people that are experiencing this. And it's often considered taboo, and we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about miscarriages. We don't talk about infertility. We don't talk about menopause because it's uncomfortable. And it's time to start having these conversations and to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Your story is powerful, and you're speaking for so many women from any background all across the world. And we need your story. Women need your story and your expertise in what you do to to keep going because as women we want to give life. We want kids.
Yes.
We want family. And I know that infertility can also impact our partners and family relationships. What has been your experience when it comes to that?
I think from my own personal experience, my expectations of my husband at that point in time was that I wanted him to be my everything and anything. But what I didn't realize at the time is, they're in it with me and they can't be. And so that's why it's so important to have someone that can hold a safe, sacred space for you, that can be there for you, that isn't in it with you, but that also understands where you're at. And
Mhm.
so I think that's truly important. And one of the things that I witnessed personally from one of my clients was her seeing her husband come home from work stressed and her offering him techniques that I had taught her to help relieve that stress, right? So when we work on ourselves, this is a positive ripple effect, not only for ourselves, but for those in our environment, for those that we are interacting with, that we come into contact with, because when you change you, everything else around you begins to change as well. And it all
Mhm.
starts within, and often we're looking externally and not internally. And so it's really shifting that locus of control from external to internal and taking and harnessing the power over what we have control over and letting go of the rest. We can do so much and then we have to surrender.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah. In your opinion, what would you say are the, few common causes of infertility in women?
What I notice that is common when women come to me is that I look at their nourishment, I look how they are
Mhm.
eating for a week, and so that is a starting point because often they aren't getting adequate nourishment. So that is one piece of the puzzle. If this was simple, if this was just one thing, this wouldn't be such a prevalent issue in the world. But it is a combination of nourishment. It's a combination of working with the nervous system so that you feel safe and secure in your body, which mentally you may be saying, of course I do. But
Mhm.
your nervous system may be in fight or flight because you are so stressed and trying to make this happen and trying to do it perfectly and get all the appointments and do the right things that you're not present in your body, that you're completely stressed, and your anxiety has you living in the future. And therefore, you're not able to create that space within yourself to be open to receive. And so that's really important as well as healing everything that you've been through so far on this journey, because no one is coming to me oftentimes, and my goal is to switch this the start, to
Mhm.
create this fertile foundation from the beginning of when
Mhm.
I first start thinking about this. Often they've been at this for a while, and some of their journeys are extremely hard and painful. And I can't believe some of the things that they've been through and where they've traveled and what they have done. And yet they still haven't received and gotten what they wanted and expected and have been trying to. And so finding peace with that, because the amount of resistance that we're feeling to not having this is the amount of suffering we're also experiencing. So to find peace in the present moment and to find acceptance for all that you've been through and to move forward in a way that is in alignment with what you want, but not with the same energy that you've been using so far. And it's just a different dynamic and a different way of being, because often we're approaching this from a very yang, masculine energy. And we need to bring that feminine energy into this. And we need to bring that quieter, yielding side to this. And gentler movements and meditations and things that are going to bring our whole entire system and being into a state of equilibrium.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And maybe there's too much judgment from society or the culture we live in and how a woman is supposed to, get pregnant. I think women who struggle with infertility, they already feel like crap about themselves. So for people or companies to be adding on to it, I don't think it's necessary. And we should be helping each other instead of bringing each
Yes,
other down. Because from your experience, can you imagine? You already know you can't in the way that you want to. And for other people to be looking and saying, why isn't she pregnant yet? What's going on? And you know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
there's a lot of external judgments, and it definitely weighs on us. It weighs on us where we have grown up and how family is valued oftentimes and how we want to create that for ourselves. And then there's disharmony within when we're bumping up against that. Everywhere we look, people are getting pregnant easily, whether it's our family, our friends, our coworkers, and it's really hard to navigate that. And then you're looking inward and saying, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this happening for me? And so I've had people fill out their forms saying, I'm broken, fix me. And
Mhm.
at that point, before we even start working together, we have to have a conversation about you will awaken the inner healer within you, but I'm not fixing anybody. I'm just there as a guide to support you to what is already within you because it's there, but you haven't necessarily been taught how to access and harness those pieces and parts of you. And so I think it's really important to let go of what anybody else, their opinions and their judgments are
Mhm.
really no reflection of you. They're a reflection of them and their perspective and where they are at and the way that they have been conditioned and their beliefs. So to
Mhm.
realize that that is separate of you and you don't have to take that on. You don't have to, have that energetically clung onto your energetic field or anything else. I think it's
Mhm.
really important to just be able to stand your own ground and just
Mhm.
be like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And I know why I'm doing this. And I know why I chose this path. And this is what we have chosen together or on your own. And this is what I feel is going to serve me best in the moment. And to really release all of the rest of it because it doesn't help you getting to where you want to be in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I know there's so many different methods. There's even apps that helps you, know when you're ovulating to get pregnant. And what are some of the tools that you've used, during the time that you were going through that?
I definitely when I was in the thick of it, I would buy books to try to help myself because there wasn't much back in the day. But I can apply those things to myself, right?
Mhm.
Things like emotional freedom technique or body scans. It's nice to have someone be able to guide you through those things so you can just be, you can just receive. You don't have to do one more thing and have one more thing on your list. And so a lot of what I offer is meditations.
Mhm.
And so this is working with your subconscious mind and bringing to light what needs to surface. And I offer yoga nidra meditations, which are very healing and relaxing for your whole nervous system, for the five koshas of your being. It
Mhm.
is the perfect way to meditate, especially if you think you cannot meditate or you haven't meditated before because you can't do it wrong. Okay. So there's no reason that you can come up with that you can't do this. It will work for you, and your subconscious will take what it needs from every practice and apply it.
Mhm.
And so I use yin yoga as well, which is similar to going to acupuncture and opening up the meridian lines in the body. So this is something you can do
Mhm.
from the comfort of your home. It's working with your body in a different way. A
Mhm.
restorative yoga is a way to relax and allow yourself to be because we're coming out of fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode. And this is where we want to be. And it's not a one and done thing. We're doing these practices and implementing them into our lives so that we are having balance, so that when I go to work and I'm stressed, I can come home and do this and reset.
Mhm.
And so then there's a Ayurvedic nourishment piece of it. So everybody has an inborn constitution. We're all composed of five elements. And so we're either Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. And when you know your inborn constitution, you can do breath work that's in alignment. You can do yoga poses that is in alignment with that. You can eat foods that are in alignment with that so that everything that you are doing is in alignment with what serves you and your body best. And it's not a fad or a diet or a trend. This serves you for your entire lifespan. And so to have that knowledge and to know that this is what works best for your body and to know how to counter correct when things are looking off balance, then you have that wisdom. And it not only serves you in your pregnancy, but in my own children, I can see that one of them is Vata, one of them is Pizza, one of them is Kappa. And so I know which ailments they're more prone to. I know which foods are better for them. I know what to do if they start to feel like they're getting sick. And so it's an easy way and a natural way to just be like, this is what's going to serve you and help you in the moment. And to look at the big picture and not just the small picture, right? We want to have a long, healthy life. And it's not just being so focused on the baby and so focused on the goal, but you
Mm,
want to be a healthy mom as well.
mm,
And so
yeah.
that comes into the energy alignment piece of it, of
Mhm,
balancing your chakras. And I offer Reiki healing to my clients by distance because it
mm,
is just a purification and a cleansing and a
mm,
alignment so that you are feeling at your best, and to let go of what has maybe happened this month and start again, start anew, and to actually let things go. We can say we've let things go in our mind, but to actually have that embodied experience is completely different.
Yeah. Oh, I love all the holistic approaches you're using because it's needed. Because at times we look at how, doctors or people are doing it in the Western world or, just all those different eras, different places in around the world that does it differently. But I love that you're going back to the body. You're taking people back there because I think the body is so precious. It's a beautiful vessel. And if we don't take care of it, then that's where we find misalignment. So I love that you're doing that.
Definitely. The quote that I saw on a yoga studio wall years ago really changed my relationship with myself and with my body because it said I'm not quoting it perfectly, but your body is a sacred vessel because your soul resides in it. And it completely shifted the way that I was looking at myself, the way I was treating myself. And I stopped trying to force myself into poses, into what I was supposed to look like, into perfection, and actually started to listen to my body and to give it what it needed and to treat it with respect and love and care versus what I thought it should be, could be, and felt like it wasn't. And so that was a complete different shift and an inner reflection of how I was treating myself. And I think oftentimes how a lot of women are treating themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. So tell us more. How long did it take for you to get pregnant? What was the process? You said you have twins. Was that a while ago?
Yes, so my twins are 11 now. And so that was definitely a while ago. And
Mhm.
that process was probably from start to finish about 18 months. And so I just did not enjoy how I felt taking fertility drugs. I did not how I felt emotionally or mentally, most of all, because it just felt like a roller coaster ride and I wanted to get off. And I didn't think that I could get off until, we had achieved babies. And so I was like, okay, be grateful. And I was absolutely grateful to have twins. But a little piece and part of me always wondered, why didn't they have any answers? And a big piece of part of that I believe what was holding me back was energetically being blocked because that does not show up on any single scan that they are going to do because none of those things
Yeah.
problem from any medical
Hmm.
reasoning behind it. And also the mindset. Your mindset is not showing up on anything that you you physically get from the doctor, right? So that is a big piece and part of. And so the mindset that I had then was a fixed mindset of mindset of struggle and hardship. And why is this happening to me? Feeling like I was the victim. I'm doing everything perfectly. And why are there no results? This is really frustrating and disappointing. And so, on the flip side, having a growth mindset of what else is possible for me, what else is available for me, and also when I conceive naturally, feeling a million times better, even though I was deemed geriatric at the time. Going hiking when my water broke versus
Oh,
when I had my twins.
yeah.
It was a high risk pregnancy, it was an emergency C-section, it was a hard postpartum period. All of that carried through. My mindset carried through all of that. It wasn't changed, right? And so on the flip side, going hiking when my water broke, having a VBAC, being back at Baby Me Yoga 10 days later and being very empowered in my body and knowing what I was truly capable of. And so just being able to experience that for myself was transformational because what I thought was never possible for me absolutely was. And so there are a lot of limiting beliefs and conditionings that we have within our mind that are stopping us, that are preventing us from experiencing and birthing the reality we desire.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I know men also experience, infertility as well. Have you worked with men or families who are going through that process?
I specifically work with women, but there are people that I can refer the
Mhm,
husbands to if they are experiencing
mhm,
infertility themselves. I mean, often that is the first thing that is checked, when you go to the clinic, is because they're very easy to check and that answer can come quite quickly. Whereas often the answers for the woman are more intricate and sometimes you don't receive answers. And sometimes that can be the most frustrating piece, but it can also be a blessing in disguise. And I believe mine was a blessing in disguise because I found my own answers and I wasn't attached to any diagnosis given by a doctor, or any percentage that was given by a doctor, because I have heard so many times that, oh, we only have this percent chance, or there's only this amount of that this is going to work for us, or if we try this, we're only at this number. And so I didn't have any of that in my mind. That wasn't holding me back because we can attach to that and we can think, well, this is only possible for other people and it's not possible for me. Or if I go down this path, this likely isn't going to work anyway. And we can start to have all of these spiraling thoughts in our mind that aren't necessarily serving us. And yet we don't know how to break that loop and to stop those thoughts from repeating in our minds and to
mhm,
rewire them and to create new neural pathways that aren't watering the weeds and we want to water the flowers.
mhm,
And so it's so important to know that we can do that, that we do have that power, but it is a practice and it's not perfection and it takes work.
yeah.
But it's like where do you want to put your energy and your effort and your time?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about age, how it can impact infertility or pregnancy in general. I've
Mhm.
heard uh from both ends, teen pregnant. I was a teen mom. Hellish pregnancy, very hard. I don't know if my body was ready for it. When I thought it was ready, it wasn't ready because my second one was even worse. I was sick,
Wow.
sick, sick. And I was sick of being sick. So I had two emergency C-section with both of my kids, and it was awful. Absolutely awful. I envy people who have those pregnancies where they're skipping, they love it, and there are some who are so sick. Yeah, let's talk how does age impact pregnancies or infertility?
It definitely impacts you because we only have so many eggs. We're only
Mhm,
given so many eggs, and that diminishes as time goes by. And so this is only going to be a possibility for so many years, right?
mhm,
But I think also the medical world deems us geriatric and deems us a lot of things maybe before it's our time. So doctor said that, but I was like, I don't need to embody that because I feel like $1 million compared to the first time around, like I
Yeah.
need to take that on. And so
Mhm,
there is a lot to be aware of. And I think that women oftentimes are working longer and focusing on their career. And then when they're deciding that, okay, I want to start a family now,
mhm,
often in this day and age, it is later on in life. And then they're realizing, oh, maybe this should have been in my awareness beforehand because I didn't think this was going to be an issue and I didn't think this was going to be hard because I think we can all attest to being raised in the day and age of being taught about sex ed in school and that this was something to be prevented. This was something that, you're going to get pregnant at the drop of a hat. And that's not necessarily the case for so many women.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I know, with medications, it can be so hard on some women.
Hmm.
Some women are just fine, they don't feel sick or anything. But how can women manage the sickness, or how what they're giving them is affecting their bodies? Because it changes their hormones. I don't know what happens. It's just pregnancy doesn't do me good. So what are your thoughts?
I think that, yes, medications, especially the hormones, when there's an influx of hormones that you're not used to, you're not going to feel like yourself. You're not going to feel embodied. I felt like I was having an outer body experience because I was just like, I wanted to be in my body, yet I just was like in my mind, things didn't feel natural to me. And
Mhm.
so it's not a very good state and place to be in. And I certainly, my heart goes out to anybody who is there because you don't want that for yourself. And so often when it comes to upset with digestion and like the pregnancy and stuff, it's also often a reflection of how you're digesting life in general at that time. So if you're sick, and you can't keep anything down because I have friends who are like that for both pregnancies and
Mhm.
they're like, I can't have anymore. Like I was so sick. I lost weight. That's not natural. And so it's often, it can just be your design, your makeup. You may be sort of a Vatican constitution. And so you may be experiencing and having a air and space in general in
Mhm.
your constitution. And so if you're eating foods that are airy and light, then they may not, what goes in may just want to come back out. And that may just be your makeup and how you're
Mhm.
on this earth. And so knowing also that everything is connected, everything is related, and so it's not just one thing that's causing this or that's behind this. There's often many other layers and things, and like
Mhm.
a lotus flower, we just sort of peel back these layers and we see what else is there, because often what's showing us up for us is asking us to dive a bit deeper.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I know stress is a killer in any situation, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
an example, of a woman who's experiencing infertility, there's stress about it. And then the partners are stressed about it. The other kids they may have are stressing them about it.
Mm-hmm.
You did talk about mindset a little bit, but take us a bit deeper, how we can personally deal with stress by ourselves.
I think the most important thing with dealing with stress is to notice for you where you carry stress in your body, because we all have areas that we tend to hold our stress. And for me, that would be my shoulders and my neck. If I am stressed, and that may, if I don't address it, result in a headache here, because stress headaches often are in the temples and that's where they will show up. And so by noticing where you're holding stress and pausing and not forging forward and not keep pushing and not keep going, take a
Mhm.
moment to pause, connect the mind and the body with your breath. Use your breath as your anchor always to come back into the present moment and to stop going in that direction and that energy, because it doesn't serve you. So as soon as you become conscious of it, as soon as you become aware of it, to pause, because nothing is fruitful is going to come by you persevering in that energetic state except detriment to your health in that moment. And I think that so often we don't listen and we don't tune in and we just forge ahead, and it
Mhm.
doesn't serve us, and yet we will repeat that pattern if we haven't broken that pattern. So time to like stop and pause and create a new pattern. And you will find that immediately you will shift your state of being with that. And if you're breathing shallowly, you're stressed, like breathe into your belly. We're not meant to be holding our belly button sucked into our spine like we probably have since we were teenagers. It's not good for us,
Mhm.
and it's not allowing us to breathe our life force fully into our body. So let your belly go, breathe deeply, and stop sucking everything in, because there's no you're
Yeah.
sucking everything in.
Yeah, 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 I agree. Yeah. Did you had a spiritual awakening or you'd like to talk more about that?
Yes, I did on my mat. I
Mm,
I had an awakening on my yoga mat that I was unconsciously creating a reality I didn't want.
mm,
But on the flip side, that also meant I could consciously create a reality I wanted. And so that was just a big light bulb moment for me of wait a minute. I don't have to continue in the way that I have been. I have a choice. And up until then, I didn't know that I had a choice. I didn't know that there was other options. I didn't feel like I had control over anything. And yet that's the one thing that I wanted over everything, right? Was if I felt in control, then everything was okay. But if it wasn't, then I didn't like that. And when my husband initially met me, he called me the handbrake. And now I would say he is the handbrake. Tough turn,
Yeah. Mm,
because I've just allowed myself to flow with life more easily and readily than I used to. And so that has just been an unlearning for me. We often have to unlearn things in order to come back to our natural state of being, because we've picked up all these things over our lifetimes that don't necessarily serve us. And it's like, okay, I can let that go now. I don't need to hold on to that anymore. Or that's not mine. That was my parents, and I can let that go.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share? Maybe I didn't ask a specific question of what you wanted to share.
I think I would love to just reiterate the sentiment that you're not alone, because I know that if you're in this space and place, and if no one in your immediate circle is going through this, you probably feel alone. You probably feel like you're the only one, but I assure you that you're not, and to seek support, because support is so invaluable to you in so many ways. And to know that it's not a weakness, that it is a sign of strength, and really a service to yourself to say, I want to feel and move through this differently energetically. Because I think that when you can show up for yourself and prioritize yourself and do that for yourself, then it only creates a positive ripple effect moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. What do you want people to get out of this episode?
I would love for you to know that you're exactly where you're meant to be, even if it doesn't feel like it, and that everything will unfold in divine timing, and to trust in your body, and to trust in your path, and to trust in yourself.
Mm, I love that. Love, love it. Yeah, where can people find you and work with you and support what you're doing?
I would love to offer you to join my Holistic Fertility Coach Facebook group if you are currently struggling to conceive, or if you're listening and you know someone, know that if it's not you, there's someone in your world that is, because the statistics are that high. So please share, and you can follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can join me on the health and wellness platform Vibely. It's Vibly. And I offer yoga classes, I offer meditations, I offer distance Reiki and my coaching there. And so
Mhm.
choose your health and well being, because without it, we cannot achieve all of the things that we desire in this lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Definitely. Yeah, well said. My last question, which I reversed with the one you just answered. What is the meaning of life for you?
Aw, the meaning of life for me is truly to come from that space and place of love. And I'm so grateful and so blessed to be able to have had three children and to have them in my life and to have that love that I've been able to create that I always wanted. And so I think when you can keep that at the forefront, even in the challenging times, to keep that connection to each other and to come back to that love and why you want this, because from that space and place, then you can truly create magic.
Mm, I love that. I love it. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for helping so many women, for giving us hope because we need it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.